All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Forever Sports. This is your boy Ali the Block, and we are going to review an awesome game of rugby. The All Blacks pipping the Lions 41 points to 35. And my goodness me, what did we just watch? That was insane. That was a game gifted from the rugby gods directly for our viewing pleasure. It was awesome. The Lions showing the heart true to the name of the animal of which the team is named after. It was beautiful. It was brilliant. It was clinical. You know what? The final score, like I said, 41 points to 35 in favor of the All Blacks. I'm not too sure they were good value for that win. Of course, the All Blacks showed some immense skill with their hands in the back line, with the speed of their play, really catching the Lions' defense out, and that must be commended. It must be acknowledged that that backline skill was indeed superior and that the Lions just couldn't handle that heat. So perhaps, yes, the All Blacks would deserve the win at a score line of, only winning by 6 points, which was incredibly unexpected. I think nobody would have really predicted that type of score or that performance from the Lions before this game begun. One wonders if altitude would have played a factor in this game in the final 15 minutes. If that is the case, one would think that it actually affected the Lions more. It's clear that after the 60-minute mark, the Lions did get a little bit tired. Their forwards were not pressing or pushing as hard. They weren't getting to the breakdown as quick. They weren't as physical in that attack. The backline struggling to keep up with the pace of play, particularly with the All Blacks' backline speed and passing accuracy. Look, the Lions, like I said, they showed some immense heart. But the clinical edge of New Zealand was just too much for them to handle in the end. But let me know in the comments here, did this match live up to the spectacle? Did it deliver what we expect from rugby's greatest rivalry? Let me know in the comments. Rate this match out of 10. Give me your player ratings. I think it was fantastic. Get onto my picks and let me know what your player ratings are for this game. For the Lions, I think they were all quite brilliant. Of course, a few errors. A pivotal moment in that game, I think, was from the Lions' number 12. It was from Richard Creel, where it was just a simple pass that was easily read by Rico Ioane to break open the Lions' defense and jog over to score the try, which gave the All Blacks the lead and, of course, eventually the win for this game. That was the turning point in this game, and it came at about 65, 66 minutes into the game, and it didn't really quite put the nail in the coffin for the Lions. They fought after that, but of course, leading the All Blacks for 66 minutes as a local franchise team to then go down by a single point for then the next 10 minutes as that try gave them the lead. I'm sure it did, break their hearts a little bit. And it was just, just really, really unfortunate that had to happen just from a momentary lapse of concentration. But this is the game of rugby. All it takes is one moment and the game can turn on its head just like that, which is exactly what we saw. I think that is the exact moment that the game swung. Of course, it's the first moment New Zealand took the lead. It doesn't help if you lead the game for 66 minutes and then you go on to lose. But we cannot fault the effort the Lions put in. We cannot fault the heart that they showed. We cannot fault the skills that they put on display today. They were effective at the breakdown. They won many balls. Can we please just put our hands together and take our hats off for Siba Mahashe, the junior book, the under 20 book, just recently winning the World Cup with them and winning man of the match for this game. By the way, he was phenomenal. I would not be surprised if we see him in a Springbok jersey soon. Of course, in that position there, the flanker position number 6 particularly, we could see Siya Kolisi coming back for the Boks this weekend. We've got Paul de Villiers, who's been fairly good in that position as well. But Siba Mahashe, he's got youth on his side. He's got flair. He's got muscle. He's got tactical know-how. He is a brilliant rugby player, and he has an awesome future ahead of him. And yeah, look, I mean, against New Zealand, you don't lose the game over 80 minutes. You lose it. I mean, it was shown today that it's lost in 3 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute blitzes where concentration lapses. We saw that with the issue, or with a try conceded by the Lions towards the end there from Richard Creel's mistake. Look, I don't want to trash Richard Creel too much. He really put in a big effort today. He was solid in the back line. His defense was fantastic. But just like I said, that one momentary breakdown in concentration, and it cost the Lions the game, really. So, yeah, player of the match, like I said, Siba Mahashe. What a guy. What a player. Awesome stuff from him. And big surprise for me was the performance that Richie Mwanga put in. Sure, there were a few moments where he looked good in attack, finding a gap there, putting a good pass in there as well. But overall, his kicking was just nowhere. Quite shocking, actually. Missing a few easy kicks at one would always expect him to convert. And also, just not really having too much positive go forward influence on this game that one would expect. Of course, he's been out of the All Black setup for quite a while. Was really excited to get in. Um, telling the All Blacks coach before the tour that, like, when he came in, he wasn't expecting to get any minutes, but he's just happy to be in the camp and guide the youngsters. I'm sure he's very happy to get these minutes, but he certainly will not be happy with that performance. Bowden Barrett, good as ever with ball in hand, very calm and collected under pressure, doing quite well. Not the best Bowden Barrett we've ever seen, but nothing terrible from him either. So the question now with Richie Mwanga is, did he prove tonight that he is still an elite number 10 in World Rugby, like we have seen him to be in the past? And I think the answer to that is no. I think he's getting older. I look, it may be a harsh analysis given that he's come back into the All Black setup, hasn't been there for a while. But to answer the question of whether he's still an elite 10 across the world, can we compare him to the likes of someone in a similar age range like Andre Pollard? Can we compare him to the likes of Sasha Feinberg, Mgomezulu, Amani Lubbock? I don't think so. I mean, of course, if we have to look at New Zealand as well, Ruben Love, the way that he played in this tournament, in this series so far, has been nothing short of exceptional. I don't see a way back for him to be the All Black starting 10, at least not anytime soon. So the Lions obviously had quite a physical plan to disrupt New Zealand's tempo, which did work. They did quite well in making sure that at the breakdown they were covering that ball. There were men there to protect and to win possession over. Siba Mahashe winning possession quite a few times, and not even just him, the Lions backline players. I can remember a time where Erich Cronje won the ball, where Richard Creel also got over and won the ball from the All Blacks. So very physical, quite dominant at the breakdown from the Lions. Very, very impressive from them. But at the end, New Zealand's width stretched the Lions' defenses, and the speed and the accuracy of the passing was phenomenal to watch. A beautiful thing to behold. Really, really good rugby. It was actually just genuinely just such a great game to watch overall. Um, a privilege to be able to see this live and to call it as well for you guys watching at Forever Sports. Another talking point, another question we have here is, did Dave Rennie's rotated squad prove that New Zealand's depth remains second to none? I'm not so sure. The Lions rarely gave the All Blacks such a close run today, and the Lions could argue that they deserved that game. Had it not been for a momentary lapse in concentration from the backline, conceding that try, which eventually gave New Zealand the lead and the win. The depth here of New Zealand, of course, we know it can be world class. But tonight, I think the All Blacks just overestimated themselves, underestimated the Lions, and thought that they would walk this game, which they did not do. But what does this mean going forward and the trajectory into the second test, which will be played in Cape Town? Cape Town, of course, is almost like a home game for the All Blacks. The amount of local South African All Black fans are there. It's going to be very, very tough for the Springboks playing against the All Blacks in Cape Town. But of course, obviously, still a home game for the Springboks being in South Africa and whatnot. Um, but what can Rassie Erasmus take away from this performance? Of course, the All Blacks made 15 changes coming into this game. So it's not nearly going to be the same team. I mean, we know it's not going to be the same team. They've released their team already of the All Blacks. Or actually have they? Sorry, no, I'm confusing them with the Springboks. But it's very likely not to be the same team playing against the Springboks on Saturday this weekend. So I'm not quite sure that Rassie could take away too much from individual players, but we saw again that the Lions were quite really, really good at the breakdown, being physical there, winning the ball over, and making sure that we can keep up with the pace of play of the All Blacks backline. Because there's no doubt that regardless of who pulls on the All Blacks jersey playing in those positions, they will play the same style and they will be good at it. So if Rassie can take away the fact that we need to keep up with that speed in New Zealand's attack and be physical at the breakdown and keep pushing those scrums as hard as we did in the first half on, well, the previous Saturday in Joburg, I think the Springboks will have a really good chance at winning the second test match. So, yeah, Lions, what can they take away from this? Of course, it's going to be some extreme confidence. Missing a few of their Springbok players. Not quite the first team that the Lions would put out if this was a massive URC game. Of course, missing out on a few of their players. And, of course, coming back from the URC break, having to play a few Currie Cup players in this game as well. So, of course, this is going to do them a world of confidence. Ivan van Rooyen can be extremely proud of his charges. The rest of the country is, I think, other teams, local teams can really just, take their hat off and take confidence from this as well, knowing that it can be done, that a local team can push such a quality team like the All Blacks to the brink as they did today. The Sharks particularly can learn a lot of lessons from this after being clobbered 54-0 by this similar All Blacks team. But guys, yeah, this wasn't just a midweek provincial game. This was a high-stakes encounter and an audition for some of these players for Saturday's second test in Cape Town. I mean, if I saw this Lions 15 run out against the All Blacks on Saturday, I'd be really stoked knowing that they ran this team so close. Of course, that's not going to be happening. Springboks team has been released. But looking ahead to Saturday's second test in Cape Town, drop your predictions for that game. Put them in the chat. What do you guys think is going to happen? Personally, I think the Springboks are going to bounce back and it will be 1-1. I think the Springboks are going to win that game 27 points to 24. But I mean, I could be wrong. I was incredibly wrong about this game. I thought the All Blacks were going to hammer the Lions here and it didn't quite happen. So, but yeah, go to my picks and let me know what you guys are predicting for this game. Leave it in the comments as well. But ultimately, the All Blacks tour depth, it remains the gold standard. They did well. They showed, despite, almost losing this game, that they can play a C/D team and get the job done. The Lions proved, however, that South Africa's franchise pipeline is producing world-class young talent. Let's look at the likes of Siba Mahashe. Let's look at the likes of Bato Hlekani. Awesome stuff from them. And the return of rugby's greatest rivalry is just an absolute triumph for this sport. What a spectacle this game was. It was awesome to watch. What an absolute privilege. But anyway, guys, next stop, Cape Town for the second test on Saturday of the greatest rivalry tour. It is rugby's greatest rivalry. It is the Springboks versus the All Blacks coming up. I can't wait for that game. It's going to be good. Thanks for checking into Forever Sports. This has been your boy, Ali de Block, signing out. Cheers.